Hey, welcome to Planet Hex. I'm Andrew Horn. This is a show where I talk about a lot of retro movies, a lot of VHS tapes, a lot of cult films, cartoons, comics, the writing life, games, and, just pop culture in general. That's what scratches my itch, as if this didn't give it away. So I have been busy working on vhsatemybrain 2. Still doesn't have the subtitle yet, but I'm getting close to having a proper title for it. All will be revealed soon as I know myself. And I'm averaging about 1,000 words on that a night at the moment, which I'm really pleased with. It's below my average from many years ago, but when I was writing like 2,000 words a day, back in the day, that was before kids, and a lot of things take up my time now. But I'm working on it every night. I've taken social media off my phone, so very sporadically I'll check in on Facebook and Instagram. But for the main part, it's just you guys that I'm still paying that much attention to. I love YouTube. It's a great place, and I'm really grateful everyone's here. So I'm averaging at about 1,000 words a night at the moment, and I've been thinking a lot about sequels, because this is a sequel that I'm writing. So of course my attention is turning to sequels. That's the driving force behind the book. Is it's a sequel, so it's going to get a little bit meta. And it's going to talk a lot about sequels as well. So tonight I thought I would talk about sequels a little bit more. And I'm going to talk about 5 sequels in particular that I think it's worth revisiting. I mean, it's always worth revisiting any entry in a series of movies that you like, but I love sequels. And they're not always seen in the most favourable of lights, are they? Sometimes they are just throwaway things that are an easy cash grab. It's ways to make the most out of people's contracts or existing sets and things like that. Who can forget that Star Wars, of all things, if it hadn't have been a hit, there would have been a much lower key sequel using reused sets from the first one and stuff like that, and that eventually became the novel Splinter of the Mind's Eye. If I remember, I think that's how the story goes. But do check, do correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think that's a really interesting idea, that they still wanted to get some mileage out of this. So a lot of properties do have a lot of mileage in them. Some of them go horrendously wrong, like with Species comes to mind. The first Species was a great movie. Species 2 was not. And then you got 3 and 4, and it's just like, please stop. Similar with Wishmaster. Wishmaster 1 was fantastic with Andrew Divoff. That was a great movie. Wishmaster 2, straight to DVD, straight to video sort of movie, but it's like, yeah, it's okay, it's still got it going. And then Wishmaster 3 and 4 came, that was shot back to back for about 5 pence, and didn't have Andrew Divoff in them or anyone, and were a bit of a chore to get through, unfortunately. So sequels fascinate me. The ins and outs of them fascinate me, and how franchises move on fascinates me. Of course, some of the big ones that have many sequels, like Nightmare on Elm Street, they vary, and it goes in peaks and troughs. Mainly, there should have been a trilogy of Elm Street, and then 4, 5, and 6 I can take or leave. I can especially leave 6. But then New Nightmare came, and I love New Nightmare. New Nightmare was a work of genius. And Return of the Living Dead. Awesome Prince by Graham Humphreys. Do check his work out. These are some of the posters from those movies. But the Return of the Living Dead was an interesting one. Saw that again, as I've mentioned recently. Saw that at the Savoy recently, before Halloween, and that was awesome. But yeah, the Return of the Living Dead has, I think, is it 5 movies in the series. So the first one, Return of the Living Dead, great horror comedy. The second one, Return of the Living Dead 2, which I've got on tape up there, not such a great horror comedy. Weirdly has some of the same cast in it. The third one, which I've got here, which I'll be unboxing later, because I've not done an unboxing in ages, was a return to horror, full-on horror form, and it was Brian Yuzna that made it, and it's a hell of a film, that one. And then 4 and 5 went in different directions as well, and it just seems very kind of hit and miss. Same with things like Hellraiser, Friday the 13th, Halloween. There's a lot of examples where sequels have been attempted and not worked. Some people tried doing different things with sequels, such as Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which didn't feature Michael Myers and was supposed to be what the series was, i.e. an anthology series rather than just being about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode and Loomis. And there's so many, but I'm going to talk about 5 on this video which I think stick out as worth revisiting. The first one I'm going to mention is Reanimator 2. The first Reanimator was superb. It was silly, it was ridiculous, it was gory. There was so much going on in that. Jeffrey Combs was brilliant. Everything in that was just great. Reanimator 2 did a different thing with it. In the States, it was called Bride of Reanimator. Over here, it was Reanimator 2. And, you know, it had him basically making a bride. He started building a person from spare parts. And, of course, when the person woke up, it went mad. But it was a lot of fun. It was darker in tone. It wasn't as slapstick as the original Reanimator. Not that Reanimator was particularly slapstick, but you get my meaning. There was less of a comedy aspect, more of a sort of gothic horror aspect to it, with like a mad scientist bent. Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West does a great mad scientist. If you've never seen the Reanimator movies, watch them. Even the third one, Beyond Reanimator, it was not like the first two, but it's still worth a watch. But it had a different feel to it, had a different atmosphere. And it was a little more dark, and it was a little more visceral, just with what the bride looked like, with all like the exposed throat and all the musculature and so on. So that was quite a surprising one to watch initially, but it's one that has gained quite a cult following. Not quite as big as the original Reanimator, but definitely a solid following all of its own. Okay, after Reanimator 2, this one may divide people. I'm going to suggest Friday the 13th 7, The New Blood. Yep, it's the one where it's basically Jason versus Carrie. It's the one with the psychic, the girl with the psychic powers in it. Pretty standard Friday the 13th entry, apart from the girl with the psychic powers showing up and the eventual psychic battle with Jason, where she turns a house against Jason. I really like the end of it. I really like the ending of it, and I really like all the stuff with all the psychic powers and the nods to Carrie throughout it. But that last act, where she goes to war against Jason, there's some Sam Raimi touches in there. It feels a little bit Evil Dead with the household objects turning against Jason. And I thought that was a really, really fun movie. And I do think it's a shame that it's sort of derided as being one of the lesser entries. We all know that the bottom of the barrel there with that series was Friday the 13th 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, which is just not good, and Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. However, Jason Goes to Hell at least tried something different. But it wasn't the final Friday, of course, because there was Jason X, there was Freddy versus Jason, and then there was the remake, but no. But yeah, Friday the 13th Part 7, give it another chance. It's probably not the film that you think it is from what people may say about it not being great. I think it works really well, and it was a fun watch. I enjoyed it a lot. So after that, I would say Critters 2. The first Critters is a great film. Sets up all the action with the crazy little critters and what they do and all the comedic elements of it. But Critters 2 turns it up a notch. Gets you right into the story nice and quickly, gets the space mercenaries, the space police type characters back in there really quickly, and gets down to business. It gets down to business and it delivers really well. Also, Critters 2 is a fabulous film in the series because it doesn't star Leonardo DiCaprio, which is what happened afterwards. Sorry, I can't stomach him. His face looks like a party plate. I can't deal with it. Never been able to watch anything with him in it and really enjoy it. I can't take him seriously because he looks perpetually 5. To me, he looks perpetually 5, but that's... Sorry, Leo, I know. But I really like Critters 2. The hair's bigger on the mercenary space police type characters. The effects are more ludicrous. It's ridiculous film, but hey, that's what we're in this game for, isn't it? We like ridiculous, we like cheesy, we like awful, and we like anything that has small critters in it that just eat people and are a bit like an alien spin-off of Stripe from Gremlins. I've not put Gremlins 2 on here, but shout out to Gremlins 2. That was a really good movie. And again, much sillier than the first, but it worked. It worked in the context of itself. So after Critters 2, I'm going to a little less comedic.
Hello from future me. So I realised while editing this video of what I recorded a couple of hours earlier when talking about this movie, Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings, otherwise known as The Revenge of Pumpkinhead, Blood Wings, I got a bunch of facts wrong. I got it kind of mixed up in my head with the first film that had Lance Henriksen in it, and this one doesn't. So I'm re-recording this bit because, you know, I hate it when people are wrong on the internet, you know, because that never usually happens anywhere ever, does it? So Blood Wings is the second Pumpkinhead movie, and follows on from Vengeance the Demon. This is a really high quality sequel. It went straight to video. It had very little in the way of advertising. It didn't have big stars in it. It had Andrew Robinson in it, who was Garak from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It had Amy Dolenz in it, Soleil Moon Frye, and Linnea Quigley pops up in there. Marvelous Linnea. Hello, Linnea. It's a really good movie. This holds up really well. For the facts that it does something a little bit different with the first one. The first one was kind of more a gothic horror movie that had some elements of the supernatural and some elements of like Stephen King sort of stories, but it didn't hang together quite as well as this sequel. So Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings, it's a much more effective sequel as far as sequels go. Yep, the budget was lower, didn't have Lance Henriksen in it, but it had some real talent behind the camera. One of the most effective things about it is Pumpkinhead himself. When he does show up, the suit that's used and the animatronics, the physical effects, the prosthetics and whatnot are superb. It's a really, really good suit. It's a really striking visual when you see Pumpkinhead in this movie, and it holds together well. This is why I still have a problem with CGI effects, because they just don't have that sort of presence and that weight. Even now, even with the things that can be done now, they still don't, to my eyes, have the same sort of presence as a physical effect. Don't know why that also worked for like matte paintings and miniature shots. They still had more of a presence than CG effects did for me, because it always takes me out of it when I can see that's a CGI effect. So it was always marvelous when you see Pumpkinhead in this movie, because he does look fantastic. It's got one of those stories where it starts off with a prologue in the past, so it starts off in 1958, and it jumps forward 35 years, and the consequences of what happens in 1958 have to be dealt with. So it's an interesting one how it's put together. It's well written, it's got some strong direction. It's directed by Jeff Burr, and he does a really good job with this movie. It's the cinematography's good for a low-budget film with that is a straight-to-video sequel. He does well with it. Jeff also did one of the Puppet Master sequels. He did Puppet Master 4 and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, of course. Sorry, I forgot about that initially there. But it was a really good movie. It was a strong film. It also had really strong artwork. I mean, how could you not love this tape up here? Seeing that on the shelves, immediately I needed that. I knew that the original one was Vengeance the Demon, because I'd been reading about the production of this about this sequel at the time, and it's just a really cool film. Hugely recommended. I know it was followed eventually by Ashes to Ashes, Pumpkinhead 3, which I still haven't seen, so I can't really comment on that one. But Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings, or The Revenge of Pumpkinhead, Blood Wings, if you want to use the UK title, was a great movie, and I really, really enjoyed that. Definitely worth revisiting, and I'm going to have to do it myself as well now.
So my last one on this list is, as I showed earlier, Return of the Living Dead 3. Now this did something very different. I've picked up a new copy of it because I've sold off my VHS copy of it in the great purge of VHS that I still regret greatly. This was dirt cheap on Amazon, so I couldn't resist. This is a great sequel. Yet it had a low budget and it didn't get a cinema release. I should have. I don't think it got a cinema release, but it certainly should have. And the approach to the whole thing with the zombies and the trioxin gas from the first two is very different. There are some comedic elements in it, but for the most part, this is a pretty straightforward horror movie with some like sort of sci-fi elements in there as well. But it works really well. So, yeah, young man and his girlfriend stumble across the military facility where some zombies are being worked on. And believe it's in this facility. I've got to rewatch it as well, where the young lady absorbs some trioxin and starts to become a zombie. As we know from Return of the Living Dead 1 and 2, it affects people differently. So the dead are reanimated straight away, but for the living, there is like a slow process of it contaminating the body and them changing, and they go through the process of going cold and losing functions and, you know, developing the desire to eat brains. So in this one, the young lady played by Mindy Clark, who is fantastic in this, discovers that she can hold on to her humanity if she can injure herself. So that's why she ends up with all the stuff through it. She's trying to hold on to her humanity as long as possible. And I'm not going to spoil everything there because I do urge everyone to watch it. It is a really great example of a sequel. It's also a really great example of a sequel taking a franchise in a different direction without entirely doing away with what came before. Yeah, there's no returning cast in it, but there's a returning trioxin, and that's the constant throughout the entire series of Return of the Living Dead. But yeah, nothing will match up to the first one. However, it's entirely watchable. That's the thing I want from sequels. I want them to be watchable. I want them to be fun and still be in the spirit of the original and not like a complete left turn. So sequels are a fun thing. I know they're not to everyone's taste, but they are certainly to my taste, and that's probably because I watched the Elm Street movies back to back many times over. Same with like Friday the 13th and Hellraiser. I'm much more a Freddy person than Jason or Hellraiser, but I do love both of those other franchises. But yes, this is a great example of a sequel. I've just bought this, so let's go and unwrap it and let's have a little unboxing of one of my favourite sequels, Return of the Living Dead Part 3. So this edition of Return of the Living Dead 3, I was really tempted by this because it's part of a series of Vestron Video Collector's editions. And Vestron was always a video label I got a lot of pleasure from. I knew if something was out on Vestron Video, I knew I was going to be in for a good time. Same sort of thing with like knowing about Full Moon and Medusa and things like that. If it was a Vestron, I'm pretty sure it would appeal to me. So I saw a lot of action movies and stuff like that with the Vestron label. But Return of the Living Dead 3 was a particular horror favourite from the time. I thought it was a really fun film, made by Brian Yuzna, and this is the collector's edition. So yes, it is an 18. It's She's to Die For. It's a really fun horror movie. So this one comes with a slipcase, and I do like a slipcase. It makes things look nicer. And it's been digitally restored, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that looks. I don't remember it being the most filmic of the entries in this series. I remember it did have a certain video look to it, so it'll be interesting to see if it looks any more filmic, especially on a 4K TV on a Blu-ray. So we shall see. There's the item itself, still in the wrapper. So the special features we've got on here, we've got an audio commentary with Brian Yuzna himself. We've got an audio commentary with Melinda Clark. I think she's on with Brian Yuzna. And the makeup effects supervisor Tom Raynon. A conversation with director Brian Yuzna and screenwriter John Penny. Interviews with the special effects artists Steve Johnson and Chris Nelson. Interviews with production executive David Trippett and editor and post-production supervisor Christopher Roth. Also has the trailers and a stills gallery. You see, that's a really good package. I thought I would do this unboxing on here because this is a really good example of how to revisit something well. This is a really cool example. I mean, I've looked at the rest of the Vestron Collector series, and a lot of them have got similar, if not more, extras on that just look awesome. So let's have a look inside this. So I'm not expecting anything in here but the disc, but that's a nice looking cover. It's a great cover. It nicely replicates the original. I remember the original being grey, but still, yeah, just the disc in there, and that's awesome. That's all you need. But this is a really cool edition. I'm going to get this played and revisit an old favourite. This is definitely one of the sequels I would most recommend. Return of the Living Dead 3. Try it out. So that's a look at Return of the Living Dead Part 3. Thank you for joining me for that. It's a really good film. I'm going to go and revisit that again. It's been a while since I've seen it, and there are some scenes in that which just get me every time. If you know, there's the reveal of Mindy's character when she comes out with all the spikes and stuff is a great shot. And there's a scene involving a spine, which I won't go into in too much detail here on YouTube. But it's a great movie, and sequels are fun. Now, tell me, what is your favourite sequel? What sort of sequels get your adrenaline going? Which are the ones that you've really enjoyed through the years? Do drop me a comment down below. I'll be most active on YouTube at the moment while I'm writing VHS Ate My Brain 2, so it's going to be down underneath this video where I'll see most of these things. So yes, in the meantime, thank you for watching Planet Hex. I'm Andrew Horn. These episodes go weekly, and at the moment they are just every 7 days. A lot of the time I'll put out more, but right now they are weekly while I work on VHS Ate My Brain 2, and yeah, I'm really pleased that is how that is coming along. So please do like and subscribe if you enjoy this sort of thing. If you don't, I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to be the YouTube guy and make you and do the like and subscribe and set your notification bell off so that your phone fills up with notifications that are just annoying, and then you turn them off and unsubscribe, because that's just frustrating. But thank you for joining me for this episode of Planet Hex. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to get to the next one for you.